So a rarity, a few days off.
Yeah.
What did that first of all look like for the players?
Yeah, look, I think for all of us players and staff, I was saying to a few people, my kids last night said they haven't had a game for ages, and it's only been 4 days, because he's just used to me being at a game every day. Look, it's been good. There's no hiding it. We obviously gave everyone a couple of days off earlier in the week, which it doesn't sound like a lot, but in the kind of cycle we were in and the schedule we were in, you could tell already that people came in a little bit more refreshed, and then more importantly, we had a really good training session with the whole group where we actually trained. We weren't just sort of walking through things, and so yeah, there's a whole range of sort of benefits we've been able to sort of tap into.
18 hours a day probably been spending with these people like non-stop for about 6-8 weeks. It's just not healthy, is it, to get the best out of people?
Yeah, no, it's not. And it is, as much as we love what we do, it becomes a grind. It does, and you still have that responsibility to obviously perform, and whether you're staff or you're a player, and you really focus on that. But it is a grind. It's not. It doesn't have that sort of extra bit of maybe energy, excitement, enthusiasm that you need. But that was the reality of it. We had to deal with it. I think we dealt with some parts really well. Others we obviously struggled in.
So did you actually turn your phone off? Did you have some time with family?
Yeah.
What did you do? Put your feet up?
My phone's pretty good. I keep telling people, I got the most quietest phone.
Oh,
I've
really?
got about 5 people on my phone.
Is that because no one's got your number? Is that the key?
Yeah, a little bit by design. It says a little bit about me as well.
Yes.
My wife gets plenty of messages every day, but I never do. So yeah, the phone's not an issue for me, but your mind's not too far away from football all the time, obviously with the nature. But I did make a conscious effort those couple of days, just sort of switching off, spending some time with, like I said, the family, and allowing myself to have a bit of a breather as well.
Yeah, you have to. Was it a bit maths homework? I don't know. What do you get sucked into?
Oh, no, I'm hopeless at that. That drives me nuts. But I just, whatever I can to stay out of the way of whatever the family routine is, and every now and then just chip in with something that's hopefully useful.
Bit of football in the garden?
Yeah, well, inside, we don't have a garden, so we've got the portable goals inside. So yeah, whatever I can do to sort of, like I said, not...
Cooking, cleaning?
No. So, no, you're going too far there.
Okay. Just being present and there.
That's probably my main function at home, being present. Yeah.
You mentioned about the relentlessness of it all, and you've talked a little bit about how tough this period's been, kind of one of the toughest, maybe, you insinuated. Yeah. And when you're in that place, you can sometimes look quite a lonely figure. I wondered where you go to just for some sort of to bounce ideas off of, to kind of get your head straight, because you're with the same people again and again, and maybe sometimes you need to hear something different. Yeah,
although, I'm pretty good at sort of, allowing myself to kind of be always open to and receptive to what people are saying. There's obviously a lot of noise, so you've got to be really selective about it.
Has it surprised you how much?
No. It doesn't. I mean, you kind of know when you sort of come into the Premier League that's people talk about the differences. The differences in football aren't that great. It's the differences in kind of the attention it has. And like I said, there's a lot of noise, and you do need to be really selective and how you go about your sort of, even your daily interactions, who you interact with, because it can sort of lead you down paths that, I could spend my whole day just being angry at what people are saying about me, you just go, well, what's the point, and at the same time, you don't want to be living in a sort of a bubble where you're thinking, oh, well, everyone thinks I'm great. And there seems to be a real sort of fascination these days with,
pundits?
No. People's demeanour, so my demeanour, how I say things and the way I look when I say them, and, which I don't really put a hell of a lot of thought into, to be honest. I'm kind of, I'd like to think I'm pretty transparent. If I'm not happy, I'm not happy, like most people. If I am, I am. So, but that shifts the dial one way or another. It creates more so. I remember speaking to you in the past, and you've talked about the idea of being a head coach, and there's certain parts you don't enter into. You talk about the dressing room, and the players have to set that culture, and you'll know if something's not right.
I wonder if that has had to change, or if you had to make yourself stay hands-off, because you've got a really young team. You don't necessarily have those kind of senior players setting that culture. Have you changed the way you think about coaching? Have you had to put an arm around your shoulder on some of these guys?
I guess that's another one of those sort of myths around the place about me, and that sort of over time has grown legs. I mean, you know, people, when they talk about me being hands-off, think, you know, training's happening and I'm having a cappuccino.
No.
You know, I'm all over everything. You
Yeah.
know, where that's, and the reason I am is because I do empower people, you know. You've come in to do this interview. If your producer just gave you the questions and you just read them verbatim, I don't think you'd get a great interview out of it, right? So when I say I want the players to create the culture, or coaches to take training, it's because I want to empower them. I want to see that they actually understand what we're trying to do. And that allows me to be totally hands-on, because I know everything that's going on, you know, whereas if you're immersed in it yourself, I think it's impossible, especially in the modern game when there's so many facets of the club that you interact with, and they're all important.
And with that in mind, when you look at, we talked a lot about the likes of Archie Gray and Bergville. I mean, you must have seen them literally grow up before your eyes in the last 2 months. Yeah,
I mean, it's like you don't want to artificially create.
No, they haven't had a choice, really, have they?
That's right. But that's how life is. Yeah. You know? I think with these kind of sort of situation scenarios, I think you can get enormous growth, provided through that time, you know, you kind of stay united, stay really disciplined, and stay true to sort of what you started. And how hard is it to stay united and true to yourself when everybody's questioning you and you're losing? It's the most difficult thing. Yeah, it's the most difficult thing, because the easy thing, against human nature, the easy thing is to splinter off and say, you know, actually, I don't want to be a part of this, or this is not my fault. Why am I? You know, because, you know, sometimes there's a collective responsibility and accountability that's taken when people might say, well, actually, this is not my fault. It's so-and-so's fault, you know. But I've never sensed that with this group. Yeah. The players have stayed really sort of united and, like I said, true to what we're doing. The staff have as well, and that's been important. I think it would have been very easy for it to, and we've seen it elsewhere, unravel in that kind of scenario. Is that the players you've got, or the way you've handled it, or a bit of both? Because you need a certain sort of mindset, don't you? I think the players are a big part of that, you know. And I guess the one thing I take sort of comfort from is that they obviously, to do that, they believe in something that we've sort of started, and by extension me, at this club. You know, they really want to be a part of this. They don't want to go in a different direction, and it's been driven by them. And so how do you use this sort of break, this reset, this kind of united front for the rest of the season? I guess it's about building momentum and looking at the Europa League in terms of performance and improvement, and having something tangible. Absolutely, and Europa and the league. And as painful as it was to sort of go out in the semis of the Carabao and even in the FA Cup, we kind of know our calendar now. It's league and Europe, and we kind of know, you know, the areas where we're going to be a little bit more condensed, but we're also going to have some periods where there's a bit of respite there. So I think it gives us a good chance to sort of finish strong. And your feeling must be that you get these players back, you start to see the real Tottenham. We can start to look at what you're trying to do and judge you with when they're available. Oh, look, I think the judgment is constant, and I don't think that changes. I don't expect people to sit back and say, well, just wait for, you know, a certain moment to judge me. I think some people have already made a judgment, and that's part of sort of the nature of, like I said, particularly the Premier League, when you've got so much noise that, you know, those kind of things. That's not what's driving me. What's driving me is, like you said, the possibility now that with players coming back and with the opportunity now for us to train and players to recover, is that we get back to playing the football we've already shown, and even through this period we've shown at different times on a more consistent basis. And, you know, if we can get back to that, I mean, I think when we beat City, you know, at their place, you know, we were fifth on the table, and in the Carabao Cup started Europe really well. We lost Vicario that night for, you know, 2 months, and then a couple of weeks later, a few significant injuries. So it's not like the whole season's been a disaster, and what we've got to try and do is now allow this to get us back to the levels we want to. That's the exciting bit for me.
Yeah.